What's up everybody, my name is Nick and I am a super nice guy. Today I'm here to talk about design sprints. Have you ever been stuck on a problem that is so big you didn't know where to begin? Well, design sprints are for you. Let's jump in. The design sprint was first created by Knapp when he was at Google, and back in 2016 he wrote a book on it, which I have right here and I highly recommend. In summary, it's a process that can last anywhere from 3 to 5 days depending on the format, that is used to solve very big problems and test them in a short amount of time. But no matter the format, 5, 4, or 3 day, they all follow the same set of exercises to yield consistent action-oriented results. Sprint teams are supposed to be kept to about 7 people at the most, plus a facilitator, and usually include team members that will be responsible for implementation or those that carry pertinent information or decision-making abilities. So an example team might be a designer or two, a product owner, an engineer, a marketing expert, a stakeholder or CEO, which will act as the decider, and then any other key stakeholders or people that you think will add value to the discussion. All right, now with all that out of the way, I'm gonna jump into outline and specific exercises that cover the sprint process. For this, I'm gonna be showing AJ&Smart's Design Sprint 2.0 format, and I'm pretty much grabbing their exact slides that they use for explaining their process. And one last thing to note is that the design sprint originally was created in 2016. It has since gone through multiple iterations. This specifically, the design sprint 2.0, will cover a 4-day format, different from the original 5-day format. And there is even now a 3-day format, which I will link a Google slide in the descriptions below for you to check that one out as well. But right now I'm really interested in the 4-day. Cool, so the typical process for the 4-day outline of Design Sprint 2.0 looks like this. We have Monday and Tuesday, the full team in the room, the experts, everyone who has meaningful information to contribute and is responsible for decisions being made. On Monday, exercises include mapping out problems, defining the challenge, and sketching. On Tuesday, we have deciding and storyboarding. So voting on the solutions to pursue and actually mapping them out to what will act as the guide for the prototype. Then on Wednesday, we spend the full day prototyping. So really just whoever is involved in there, typically designers or relevant people, spend the full day attaching that and creating the test script essentially. Thursday is the test, and the test everybody is in the room watching for key positive and negative insights that are coming out of specific interactions. All right, and jumping in deeper into what this actually looks like for day one. Day one, we have the first half as defining the challenge and the second half as producing solutions. So the exercises specifically around defining the challenge include expert interviews and how might we's. So an expert interview takes about 10 minutes and we're having key stakeholders and everyone with relevant information giving discussions and speaking to the problems, the challenges, everything that is in that stakeholder's mind about the specific product or service. The how might we specifically are everyone else who isn't talking writing down notes that stand for opportunities to focus on in the sprint. So how might we improve customer experience with blank? It's not focusing on the solution, it's focusing on the opportunity. The second exercise is the long-term goal and sprint questions. The long-term goal is optimistic and a goal for what, in a perfect world, where do we want to be in 2 years if everything went absolutely perfectly? Optimism. The sprint questions are more pessimistic. So what would stand in our way? What are reasons we would fail? Maybe we don't have enough features to reach our sprint goals. So question being, will feature set X not being present affect Y, for example? And then the third exercise is the map, which personally, the map is the most exciting part of day one for me. It's really mapping out the entire workflow and process of how a business works and operates and where the specific challenges fall into and who are the key players inside of that process. The second half, producing solutions, starts with lightning demos. Now, lightning demos is just a way for team members to present inspiration, case studies, competitives, things that they see out in the real world that are being done really well and we want the team to align on. The next being 4-part sketching, which starts with a quick note-taking portion. Note-taking is just an exercise for everyone to start jotting down ideas that they want to sketch, that they want to focus on. Maybe they saw a lot of inspiration in the lightning demos. They want to align with that and prepare themselves. The second is doodling, which is just a warm-up sketch exercise. You might start drawing boxes, components, questions, things like that. Next is Crazy Eights, which I think is a more common exercise that people might know. You spend 1 minute for 8 minutes sketching 8 different things. So every minute you work on a sketch and then you move to the next one and you're rapidly iterating or focusing on different ideas. And then finally, we have the concept or solution sketch, as it's also known as. This is where you take any of your sketches, you resketch them into 4 roughly frames that will act as a sole concept. So they all are a linear sketch flow. And then these you will hang up and vote on the next day. Cool, and now we've finished day 1 and we're moving on to day 2. The way day 2 looks is the first half is spent voting on solutions. The second half is working on the storyboard. With voting on solutions, it starts off with what's known as heat map voting. This is just the process of every teammate walking around the sketches and placing stickers around things that they like, things that they want to move forward with, specific features, maybe it's specific wording, maybe it's the whole concept itself. And so you get a bunch of little votes sprinkled around heat mapping on the sketches. The second is a solution presentation. Now, it's not the creator themselves presenting their own sketch, it's the moderator or facilitator presenting the work, because the sketches are meant to be more anonymous, which helps for reducing biases and things like that. So the facilitator is able to read these sketches because they're done in a very descriptive way. They have a clear title, they have annotations, and so on. Once the presentations are complete, the actual creators can then speak up and fill in any blanks they have about the sketch. At that point, we move to a straw poll vote, which is really just one team member placing a single vote on the concept of their choice. The decider then votes and they get 2 votes. Now that that half is complete, we've decided on a sketch, which can go in a number of different ways. There can either be a clear winner, there can be 2 different winners that you combine, or 2 different winners that you test against themselves in the following days. So then moving on to the storyboard, it starts with what is the user flow, the flow that you want to test. It typically starts with the first entry point into an experience. This could be seeing an ad or reading an article that links to a marketing page, for example. The final flow would be the goal, the end result that you want the user to reach, which would then tie into your 2-year goal. So after the flow has been defined, you then just take each specific step from the flow and map it into frames, which you then sketch the frames that will be the lo-fi sketches to steer into the high fidelity prototype. And just like that, we have finished the first 2 days and we're ready to move on to day 3. Day 3 is just the prototype. So the experts can go back to their busy lives and leave the room, and the designer or whoever is responsible for putting together the prototype is going to be very heads down creating this, putting it together. And then we might have other people helping to put together a test script and the test outline. So the prototype matching directly to the storyboard and the test flow that was made in the second half of the day before. We then get to work and make that click and work and have all the interactions we need for whatever information we're trying to gain from the test. So then that leaves the 4th day to the test. For the test, typically you want everyone in the room watching it live so that everyone can see in real time and again gain that understanding and alignment together. Specifically for observing and note-taking on the test, there's a little bit of a format that involves placing specific key tasks in the flow that you want to validate, and then the participant names across the top, and having a grid inside where you place either positive insights or negative insights for each specific step. Cool, and just to reiterate, these steps were mostly taken from AJ&Smart, so if you want to go deeper into the stuff, check out their YouTube channel. They have videos for the full process and individual exercises explained in detail better than I did just then. Another great resource to follow up on is the Google Design Kit website. So they have specific case studies where they've applied sprints to, and they annotate which exercises they use directly in that sprint. And they also have broken down the process, methodology, and descriptions for each resource. So if you like to more read than watch, say AJ&Smart, you can read there and reference that. The beauty of these exercises, specifically how the Google Design Sprint lays them out, is that they can be applied to anything, any problem you're having or any point in your regular process. It doesn't necessarily have to be a design sprint, and that's why I think these exercises are super valuable things to know. I recently had the pleasure of leading a design sprint with my team, and it was such a rewarding process to be in the room as everyone is gaining the same insight and understanding and arriving at those same conclusions together. Again, going back to a previous comment I've made, it's the job of the designer to make sure they have all of the relevant information required to move their project forward. And so that's why even just being in the room for a design sprint is enormously beneficial. Anyway, that is a quick overview of the design sprint. Please remember to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful in any way, and check the description resources down below because I dropped a bunch of stuff in there. Anyway, until next time, super nice guy out.